Deep breath, Kathryn, you got this.
So did the timer hit 0? I'm not seeing it there, so I think we are live. So we'll give everybody just a second, and I'll get my screen share pulled up so we can get started as everyone's trickling in. Well, so we're supposed to keep to a tight schedule. There's so many sessions today. We want to make sure we end on time and get you to the next. So we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone for joining us for this session, which is Consensus Case Study, Implementation and Rollout, and Lessons Learned. You're going to hear from Kathryn Wilkins and Melissa Kellenberger. My name is Joel Hovey. I'm the Senior Account Manager here at Consensus, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. So DEMOFEST is presented by Consensus, which is an intelligent demo automation software. It helps scale pre-sales teams with interactive video demos. It's a really slick tool. If you haven't seen it in person firsthand, I highly recommend you click on the link that's in the Docs tab, or you can even go to our website, app.go/consensus. Consensus is proud to provide the event free to all attendees. However, we do want to invite each of you to donate to our company's humanitarian organizations if you'd like to, which you can also learn about and donate visiting the booth called DEMOFEST Gives Back. It's located in the Docs tab as well on the right of your screen. And we also do have a growing community on Discord, and we'd invite you to join that community. There's going to be many different questions and access to content, to future events and sessions that are accessible there. And also, if you're looking for any slides from this or other presentations, that's probably where you'll get it, is being able to directly communicate and network with some of the presenters from this and other sessions. So that's also accessible in the Docs tab. Now, we encourage you to participate. The session is going to be great, but it will be better with your presentation or with your participation and questions. So make sure that you note that there are different sections of the platform that will allow you to chat with us and other people joining the session. There's going to be a section where you could see poll questions and answer those on the right-hand side. Also, there's a Q&A session. So we'll be answering questions throughout, but mainly at the end of this session. So if you do have questions, feel free to submit them in chat, but it would be better placed in the QA session, and you can even upvote different questions there. So we make sure we spend time on the questions that are burning across everybody that's attending. So with that being said, let's jump in and hear from the people who you came to hear from, not Joel. All right, so let me just quickly introduce our two speakers today. So Kathryn Wilkins. Well, Kathryn and Melissa are both great. I've had the pleasure of working with them both for almost 2 years now. Kathryn has been at Hyland for collectively 10 years now, I believe. She began her career in marketing, quickly moved into sales position on the GovEd team at Hyland, and most recently transitioned to Hyland's global technical sales operations team, where she's now serving as a Consensus administrator. Melissa has spent 17 years at Hyland. That's amazing, Melissa. Serving in pre-sales, software or sales solution engineering team lead, manager, and most recently standing up a global technical sales and global operations team. They serve directly 100 members of the commercial technical sales team at Hyland and indirectly support international healthcare team of 150. And both Melissa and Kathryn now oversee 450 users in the Consensus platform and do a remarkable job at that. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the rest of the time over to those two so they can share their lessons learned.
Great. And thank you, Joel, who's really been with us every step of the way here as we embarked on Consensus. So Kathryn, I would like to thank everyone for the attendance today. And we're looking forward for some great questions in the Q&A. So make sure you take advantage of that. So first, I'm going to start out telling you a little bit about Hyland. Hyland is a developer of enterprise content management and process management software. Our products are used in healthcare, financial institutions, insurance, government, higher education, and manufacturing. And we focus on meeting people where they work by providing the right information to the right people when and where they need it. A little bit about Hyland itself. We were founded in 1991 by Packy Hyland Jr. The Hyland family is still actively involved in the company. We are headquartered in Westlake, Ohio, a suburb of Cleveland, and we have 4,000 plus global employees in over 25 offices across the globe. We have 14,000 active customers to date, and we work through a global partner network, which is a great asset that we've built and continue to cultivate. They enable us to reach and serve the enormous range of regions and industries that we work within. And we have recently opened up Consensus to our partner community with a very warm and exciting welcome from those community members. So let's start talking about why we selected Consensus. We were looking to automate our repetitive harbor tour demos, avoid those unqualified demos because we know there's so much time and effort that goes into prepping and delivering those demos. We had little to no insight into buyer happiness, their interest, or their engagement. And a lot of our buyers wanted to self-educate. They would say, we just want to see a demo. We don't want to talk to anybody. We don't want to do a pre-demo discovery. Just show us the demonstration. That made it difficult for us. And it's difficult to scale the pre-sales team. It takes 12 to 24 months to bring a new sales engineer into an experienced role. So what did we require of Consensus when we were looking? We wanted Salesforce integration so that the communication between those systems can take place and we know what's going on at that point in time. We want to enable buyers to champion and sell internally for themselves. And we're going to have some examples of that today. We wanted to create a frictionless, accessible buying experience. So for those that wanted to just see the demo right then and there, we wanted to make that happen and offer that option to more people. And we wanted to be able to support multiple languages since we are a global company.
So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking you through our implementation and rollout timeline. So we at Hyland had our initial Consensus demo back in June of 2021 and agreed to a pilot of the platform, which began in December of the same year. We began the pilot by licensing about 10 of our solution engineers to begin building out the content that we would later introduce to our sales or send pilot group in February of 2022. We asked that each SE create a demo to get us started. We began with about 20 of our sales support representatives to allow for a larger reach, and then slowly began to add additional account executives over the next few months. Due to the success of our pilot, towards the end of July 2022, we completed our expansion agreement with Consensus to license all members of our global sales organization. This really included our solution engineers, our account executives, our business development representatives, sales support, and leadership as well. We worked with Consensus to provide initial training to our solution engineers and created a goal that each SC must have completed 3 demos by the end of September. We increased our demo library from 20 demos to 93 in 6 short weeks. So that our senders had impactful content to hit the ground running once they were licensed and trained. We began teasing Consensus as a coming soon in our company meetings and started to really create a buzz. We came up with a 3-part communication plan that consisted of 3 separate live training offerings, initial training content to get their feet wet, and then some homework prior to their live training that included, installing that Microsoft Outlook add-in and the Chrome extension. We also hosted some office hours as a follow-up to those trainings to really allow our senders to ask more questions and to work with them to send off their first demo board. We were able to successfully roll this platform out to over 450 users in October of 2022. So each month at our global all hands sales meeting, we report on our consensus numbers, and this is the slide that we typically use. And I just wanted to share a little bit of our data to date. So as you can see, we have a 35% demo board view rate, which has consistently been above the KPI that we have set for ourselves. We've discovered over 700 new stakeholders, and our teams have created over 2,200 external demo boards. Our view time is also consistently higher than the KPI. We started off with our small library of 20, and we've grown that to 339 today. Early on in the pilot phase, we created an internal Hyland page that houses all things consensus. So it's our one-stop shop for training, information on the existing videos that we have, and even some of the upcoming videos we have planned. It also houses our branding guidelines, success stories, and much more. We also created a Microsoft Teams chat as an easy place to share ideas, ask questions, and really just support one another. We also send out new content alerts. So anytime we've created a new demo in the demo library, we send out alerts and share new information via our weekly sales newsletter. And then we've also created a form to allow our teams to submit consensus video creation requests. In addition to this, we're sending out reports to our leaders to give them a view into how their teams are leveraging the tool. I know they have licenses and they should be doing this themselves, but that's a work in progress. I continue to conduct one-on-one refresher training to showcase new content that's available, ensure that our team is leveraging the Microsoft Outlook integration, provide them with ideas on how they can leverage the Snap tool, and really make sure that they have a good understanding of the insights that they're getting from their Demolytics. We're also beginning to work with many of our channel partners who are interested in learning more about the tool, which is really, really exciting. So this is a really, really fun one that Melissa and I worked on. So we created a process for our leaders to check in on the demo content to continue to ensure quality of content. We request that each of the leaders select 5 or more demos to review and rate them using a form that Melissa created. We ask the leaders to rate the videos and provide feedback on the quality of the audio, video, and content. We take the feedback back to the content creators to make sure that they're making the updates to the videos to ensure that they are all still relevant and continue to evolve. So I wanted to share some of the things that we've learned throughout the process. So timing. For Hyland, from a timing perspective, we realized that our rollout to the masses was really not that ideal. We inked that expansion contract in July, and we needed to train up all of our content creators in August and give them ample time to create the content. So we didn't actually roll out to our senders until October. This was around the same time as our annual customer conference and really the start of Q4. Our sellers were super focused on driving their customers and prospects to the event and closing out their year-end business. In retrospect, maybe creating a video to drive attendance to our conference or align with end-of-year spiffs would have been a great way to help drive seller adoption earlier on. Training, so plan for continuing education. We're going to have new members join that will need to be licensed and ramped up. Again, I talked about how I'm constantly going back to our team members to provide that refresher training. I typically meet one-on-one with our team members to reinforce features like the Microsoft Outlook add-in. Integrations. So looking back, I really wish we would have led with the Microsoft Outlook integration as the primary way to send off these demo boards. It's a much easier way for sellers to create and send off demo boards with much less manual intervention. When doing the refresher training, it became very apparent that many of our sellers were unaware of the integration. And so providing this refresher training is really enlightening them to that tool. The Salesforce integration. So This is a work in progress on our end. At the time of our go live, we were unable to launch with the Salesforce integration, just basically due to an overhaul of our systems and processes internally. Had we had the opportunity, we would have jumped right in with the Salesforce integration. So what we're doing as a stopgap right now is we're currently manually key entering the account ID and opportunity ID to our demo boards so that we can hopefully better report on our consensus successes. So platform ownership, we've had we've had a ton of consensus support, but we've realized that we really don't require very much. This is a positive one. Well, Aaron and Joel are amazing and they're always willing to jump on calls and help us out. We're finding that we're able to administer the system successfully on our own and, require minimal support from consensus. This allows us to really own our solution. So another big one is sales leadership buy-in. We definitely had the support from our technical sales leadership, the team responsible for our solution engineers and content creators. While our sales leaders supported and still support the platform, I really wish we had a bit better buy-in to ensure the sellers were using the tool regularly. I think that had we asked the sales leaders to require maybe X number of demo boards be sent per month, or aligning with them on a spiff or a contest or something like that may have helped with earlier adoption. And then the last piece is to create a video to personalize the demo. So we ran into an issue and received feedback immediately that internal and external customers weren't really watching the videos in their entirety. They thought the intro video was the experience and were really unhappy as a result. So we solved this by adding the video that we have displayed so that 3, 2, 1 personalize your demo. And the issue was quickly remedied. So really, what are our next steps? We are currently in the process of cleaning up our demo library and reorganizing everything. We're working on categorizing our demos by the consensus demo types, and at the same time, updating our naming conventions. We also rolled out new colors and branding as an organization, so we're working to update the look and feel of all of our existing demos and update our branding guidelines for day-forward content creation. We're also working on creating a playbook with an ideal end-to-end process, which will include that demos should be sent, which will include what demos should be sent when as a guidance for our sales teams. We are also working with leadership and sales ops to incorporate consensus into our account executives' goals and requirements throughout the sales process in tools like Altify and HighSpot. We have high hopes to purchase and implement the Salesforce integration once our Salesforce overhaul has been completed. And we have also been working with Consensus team and the HighSpot team to really try to push an integration there. I'm currently working on documenting more and more of our team's success stories. I think the more we can showcase how this tool is really helping our teams win business, I think the more and more adoption we will be able to see. And then finally, this is a great opportunity to interject our interns. So we're really introducing our summer interns to Consensus and allowing them to help in many of these changes and improvements.
So let's switch gears to talk about content creation or authoring of those videos. One of the most common questions we're asked is where to start. On Tuesday, during the customer day, I presented an entire hour on content creation. But you have to have that content within Consensus to be successful. So when we were starting our journey with Consensus, we created a list of our most common demo requests per solution and industry. We asked our technical sales leadership, our sales leadership, industry consultants, and utilized historical data that we had to create a top 10 list that included low-level demos, tire kicking or harbor tour demos, and qualifying demos. We needed to do more with less, and we needed to free up our technical sales staff to make their work more meaningful. Once we established that hit list of low-hanging fruit, we created a form that Kathryn talked about and showed for the consensus video creation request that anyone within Hyland can submit their ideas. From there is routed to the appropriate technical sales leadership for review and assignment. So when we talk about what we need to do to create that authoring or those videos, we laid out some creation parameters for our teams. We have them start with outlining the solution and the important features of the solution. And for each topic, we have them record 2 versions of the video, one long and one short. The short video should be an introduction overview of the topic that's no more than 2 minutes long, ideally 60 to 90 seconds. This video will be shown for the topics that people rate as somewhat important when they're personalizing their demo experience. We want this to focus on a marketing type overview rather than a demonstration of the software. We want them to become familiar with that functionality so they can determine if they want to move forward or if it's something that doesn't apply. The second video, the long video, should be a clear and concise demonstration of the features, but in small bite-sized pieces. We want that to be no more than 5 minutes, ideally 2 to 5 minutes. This video will be shown for the topics that people rate as very important. This is a demonstration, and we remind our staff to use the tell, show, tell methodology to tell people what they will be seeing, show them what you want them to see, and then tell them again what you showed them. I think it is important to call out here that as an organization, Hyland has made the decision not to place customer or prospect-specific demos within consensus. We want our content to be used across all customers and prospects, and we also need to adhere to our customer data handling policies. So customer-specific demos are not stored. We're looking for more specific functionality and features that can be used across individuals and organizations. We also created some content best practices for our teams to follow. We asked them not to introduce themselves or use their name, title, or dates on slides. This just dates the content and requires more time to update and maintain those videos. So we want them to remain as ageless as possible. So eliminating that information helps us maintain that. We asked them to include that video on how to personalize their demo experience, with Kathryn already hit on this one. People truly were getting upset and frustrated because they weren't getting the whole experience. They were just getting that introduction video and they thought that was it. And they thought we were trying to pass that off as a demonstration. We also asked people to only show the relevant portions of their screen. No need to show your taskbar or your browser bar or even your browser favorites. Just show them what they need to eliminate any other distractions. Always a good reminder to scrub your demo data to make sure that it's not any customer specific data and it adheres again to our customer data handling policies. And finally, it's a good reminder to make sure you're always updating the call to action and rep contact that appears within the demo player when you're building that demo out within the consensus platform. One thing that we really started struggling with was how do we start with the consensus process of building out those videos and what does that overview look like? So we actually created a template that is available for you in the Documents tab. It is a storyboarding template, and we use this internally. So this is really just to provide as a guide. The first page talks about the introduction. We recommend this being a PowerPoint with a voiceover, just outlining the points that you want to hit in the intro. This is the first time that you're going to tell them what you're going to be showing them, so they're hearing that maybe 3 to 4 times within the demonstration or the video itself. And we can also include pictures of those overview slides or slides that we might want to include. So really just here to help that juice start flowing. The subsequent pages, and I have a couple examples here, are going to highlight the features with the long and the short videos. So being able to call out the distinction of what you want included in each and what that you want to look like. Again, as a reminder, we use those short demos as more of a marketing overview, and the long videos as a demo itself, where we're showing and telling the individuals what we want them to see. And just one other example of what those subsequent pages and subsequent features look like. Again, this template is available to download within the Documents tab of Goldcast. So now let's talk about some of our successes that we've had. The graph that we're looking at here outlines the demo boards that have been created in orange, the demo boards as they are viewed in gray, and the stakeholders discovered shown in blue across our implementation timeline. So this is for all time of our system. We love that we're seeing this increase in creation and viewed, and loved that spike that we saw early in March. And of course, those stakeholders discovered is such a great stat to see increasing. I do want to mention that at Hyland, we did see a restructuring on April 1st. And so we see that drop off in those numbers that took place. But we are already seeing an uptick in demo creation and demo board creation and demo boards being sent out as we readjust from the restructuring that took place. This next chart highlights our 10 most commonly sent demos, including the stakeholders discovered in yellow and the demo board viewed in blue. We have also provided the demo board view rate as a percentage at the end of the chart. Look at that 70% view rate on our captivating Salesforce integration for higher education video. Like, who wouldn't love to see a 70% demo view rate? But this is just focusing on those 10 most commonly sent demo videos. Now, with those 10 most commonly sent demo videos in mind, we have saved 16% of a working year, or 332 hours, in just those 10 videos. These videos were sent to 250 different customers or prospects. And just as a range of reference, this is just 10 videos. We have 339 demos within our system. The rest of the numbers we're highlighting here reflect the entire system, not just those 10 most common demo videos, but those 10 most videos are definitely accounted for here. So we have 18 demo boards with over 90 minutes of view time. For 34, we have 34 demos with 10 or more views. We have 35 demo boards with 5 or more stakeholders discovered. And this last number, the 784, I think this is a really impressive number. This is the number of repeat views. So taking the number of our total views of all of our demo boards, minusing those that are first-time views, we get 784. So this really equates to, as Joel pointed out, selling in your sleep. We're providing consistent messaging, and people are able to go back and watch videos over and over again to make sure they're hitting the key points and answering those questions. So we're not using our staff to repeat that information or those demos again and again, because we know that's everyone's favorite thing to do.
Okay, so I wanted to take a couple minutes just to share some of the successes that we've seen with Consensus, and these are coming straight from our account executives. So the first one I wanted to share is from a large commercial account. So the senior account executive created a demo board in Consensus and shared it with the SME at the customer site. The customer then took the demo board with them on a road trip to each of the 7 locations throughout North America and played the demo board for the record managers at each location. We were able to track when and who the demo board was viewed by. The demo board created a ton of momentum and built confidence that our solution was the right solution for the customer, ultimately beating out our competition. It helped them form their team internally. The account executive also worked with our CCO on a customized testimonial using the Snap tool that the AE shared with all the key stakeholders to really help to set Hyland apart. We saved a huge amount of time not having to prepare for and provide 7 different demos. It also ensured consistent messaging to the customer, and they were able to refer back to it when they had questions. This resulted in a really significant deal closure, and it really strengthened the relationship that we have with that customer. The next one that I wanted to share is a small financial services prospect. So this is a unique success story, if you will. But one of our account executives was working with a smaller financial services prospect. The prospect demanded a demo within 2 weeks, but would not commit to a discovery call. And on top of that, our solution engineers really had no bandwidth for a demo in the prospect's required timeframe. Instead, the account executive shared a consensus demo board with the prospect, who then shared it with others in their organization. They determined rather quickly that the platform was actually too complex for what they were looking for. Sending the demo board allowed the account executive to quickly disqualify the lead without involving a solution engineer and allowing himself to really focus on further stage opportunities. And for the final consensus success story that I have, so this is for one of our larger healthcare customers. The account executive on the healthcare team recently found out that one of his deals that he was forecasting to close had stalled, and the demo was canceled because the prospect wanted to wait for another project to be completed. The assigned sales development rep that was working with the AE suggested that he send the prospect a demo board to get them re-engaged. All 10 of the recipients viewed the demo, and they even discovered another stakeholder. This consensus demo board revived the deal by and ultimately closed quickly thereafter.
In closing, we just wanted to close with a quick quote from Tom Davis, who's our AVP of Commercial Technical Sales, and really the driver around getting consensus here at Hyland. And just want to call out a few things here. Tom talks about being a force multiplier, doing more with less, having more productivity, becoming more efficient, and collecting valuable insight, because who doesn't love data? And best of all, it being a competitive differentiator for us. Thank you all for your time today. We're really looking forward to any of the questions that you may have during the Q&A.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for sharing and putting this all together. There's a couple of questions that are in the chat, and we'll maybe start with some of those. I've got a couple of my own as well. But Portia submitted a question asking around spiffs to drive incentives or usage. So asking what sort of spiffs were used to entice usage. It seems like she's implying for salespeople to use the tool. And then also, did you incentivize content creation at all?
Melissa, I can take the one regarding sales. So I think we did not have any spiffs around sellers sending them. In retrospect, I wish I would have worked with the team to kind of put something together to entice them to send the videos out.
And as far as content creation, we're a pretty competitive group on the technical sales enablement side. So really that's really built in for us. So we're all pretty competitive and didn't require any incentivizing, just a little encouraging and follow up from some of the managers at times.
What's so interesting to me, though, is looking back at that timeline slide that you'd shared and focusing in on the growth of your reusable demo assets that were in your demo library. Without having spiffs and competitions formally, you guys did a really good job of creating some type of incentive. Would you say there are maybe one or two things as a takeaway for the group that they could do to help drive more reusable demo content creation?
Yeah, I think definitely talking, I mentioned this in the presentation, talking to those in leadership, and if you have any historical data. So get those things that are those tasks that are burdensome, if you will, those demos that you're always doing, those tire kickers, getting those out of the way. That would be the first thing I would absolutely do. And you encourage people doing that because everyone kind of doesn't hate, but they're not everyone's favorite type of demos to do, right? You know, we're always still doing those high level customized demos that are for prospects. We're still doing those live demonstrations. That's what really everyone, at least on our team, really loves to do because it's a challenge. You're trying to solve someone's particular need instead of solving a need overall. So being able to spend more time on those types of tasks really was an incentive for our team from there.
Makes sense. And
Go ahead.
did you guys experience any pushback from whether it be salespeople who would be the end users in many cases, or from sales leaders?
I don't think that we received a lot of pushback, and I'll let Kathryn speak about this a little bit more, but Kathryn's role, or her previous roles as being an account executive, really lends great insight to this, and people trust her a little bit more than I'd say me, or follow her instincts, and she knows a little bit more about that process. As me, I've always been in a technical role, so I think her being an account executive is just invaluable to this process and in everyone's relations with her on the account executive side. They trust her. She's a trusted advisor at that point.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and maybe a takeaway that the point person for kind of managing the program is so critical. And I know you both, I've witnessed both of your expertise in play and influencing different individuals at Hyland to help adopt and do the things that they need to make the tool successful. Kathryn, any lessons learned around how you've helped influence and maybe how you leveraged your experience as an account executive to drive adoption?
Yeah, so I think really just finding champions. We found a couple champions really early on that found those quick successes, and having them create testimonials and speak on behalf of the platform. This is how it worked for me, and really building this montage of success stories is just going to continue to propel people to use this system. I think that once they get that first taste of success, it's a no-brainer to keep coming back.
And I think one of the stories we love to share, Joel, is the idea of being able to follow up. So we really at Hyland try to hold back to a rule of when you're sharing a proposal with a customer, you want to discuss it with them. You want to have that live in-person discussion. And Joel, of course, used his consensus magic on us and did our proposal review via the Snap tool. And the fact that he was able to follow up, or even months down the road or a year down the road, when we pull that proposal up to check our licensing or answer questions, Joel's reaching out to make sure everything's okay. So using those proposal reviews is just one of those hidden things that if we could just magically snap our fingers and get people to do right away, I think that'd be one of the things, and they would immediately find success with it. Because trying to get everybody in the room at the same time to go over that proposal review is very difficult. And two, you will uncover new stakeholders in that when that proposal review is shared.
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar with the Snap tool we're referring to, if you're a licensed user in Consensus, you have access to a Chrome extension, which allows the user to record a screen share or a video of really anything they'd like. And it's one of a best practice that salespeople, when they're getting to kind of later stages or the commercial licensing stage of a sales cycle, that they not only cover that licensing and proposal on a call, but when they share it afterwards to record a quick walkthrough. And it's, as a salesperson, I can tell you it's incredibly helpful to make sure your message isn't diluted as it's shared to different people, but also, as Melissa mentioned, just making sure that you're discovering stakeholders with the tool. So very, very cool. Now, there's a question coming in from Andy Spencer. His question was, what insights do you gain from looking at the viewing telemetry, like repeat views, what's important, and even non-views?
So I think kind of speaking from the what's important, that really helps us customize, because we do that live in-person customized demo for our demonstration using our software. That really allows us to help guide those conversations and what that demonstration looks like. So if someone says that it's functionality or a feature that's not important at all, then we don't even hit on that. We don't waste our time on that, or we just do a quick mention of it. So really being able to tailor those further conversations and demonstrations with that prospect, even to the point of if they say maybe something somewhat important or not important and we think that they're discounting it, being able to drive home that reference to that feature or functionality to step up our game and proving to them that why that feature or functionality is important. The repeat views really help us with because within the consensus tool, you can see which sections of the video and the timing of the video that they watched over and over again. Really, again, are they not understanding that functionality? Do they have questions on it? Or is that something really interesting to them? So being able to really see what those things are, have those conversations and tailor those further conversations with them is great. And then from a non-view standpoint, it really helps you with who's not viewing that demo board. What are we getting from that? So how do we need to engage in that account platform, in those individuals within that account to get them more engaged? What do we need to be doing differently? And how do we need get our champions within the customer or the prospect, getting those other people engaged as well, especially if they're critical to that sales cycle?
Some great perspective. One thing that you had shared earlier was on repeat views. And if I jotted a note down, hopefully my note taking was accurate. I think 784 repeat views. That to me, that says a couple of things, which maybe I'll share, but I'm curious what kind of, where do you see that bringing value to the sales rep, to the pre-sales team supporting, and to the customer? You guys quantified that as a business?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing for us, and again, I'm on the technical sales side historically, so I think of it as that's how many times I didn't have to try and get an account or a sales engineer back in touch with that customer to demonstrate a piece of that software again. So being able to make sure they're focusing on those customized demos, other tasks, creating more consensus videos for us for other solutions or features or functionality. So really being able to leverage their work and not having to do anything. But I think that you had a great phrase that you used when you talked about the demo review, and it's that consistency of the messaging as well. So making sure that it's not getting watered down. You play that game of telephone where they saw the feature and functionality and this is what it looked like to them. And then when it gets to the third or fourth person, it's totally blown out of the water. So making sure that you're being consistent in that messaging and the customer's hearing the consistent message.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I've seen consensus in my own just sales motion as an account executive with that same concept of that repeat view. And I've always been a believer that, it takes a human being in general multiple times of hearing the same thing for it to really stick. And burden that you place on the trusted advisor, in this case, the technical sales rep supporting the sales cycle, that's a large burden to place on them if they have to do intro demos, technical deep dive demos, repeat demos. So I feel like as we've talked, on our biweekly calls, looking at those repeat views has really just provided, to your point on the earlier slides, so much time savings back to spend on other deals. And it's so cool to see. I have the opportunity to be the account executive who worked with and sold to Hyland, and seeing, the results come to fruition is just so fun. You guys have both done a remarkable job with the deployment of the tool.
Well, thank you. But then I think that goes back to the tell, show, tell, right? You're telling them what you're going to show them, and you're telling them again. So they're hearing it 3 times for it to stick in their head.
True. And I was on another session earlier today with a customer speaking to some of their lessons learned, and they called the tell, show, tell something slightly different. Just looking back at notes, their scripting of the demos was, you do your opening with value props and you summarize it. So whether you call it the tell, show, tell, or the value prop and then you summarize, we're finding that to be true. That trend is critical. And your data says that your average view time was, I think, a minute longer. And guys, a minute may not seem like a lot, but attention is now the currency for businesses. Getting an extra minute attention and having an extra minute on the repeat views as well, that's very, very powerful. Let me go back and look and see. I think there was one other question in the Q&A section. Question from Portia. So this might be a question for Kathryn. I think it says, how often are you doing live refresher or enablement sessions?
Sure. I'm doing multiple sessions per week. I mean, I take a look at patterns of usage, and if I see an account executive hasn't really logged in a while, or they haven't sent anything out, it's I'm just kind of connecting with them to see if we can set something up. And these aren't taking any more than 20 to 30 minutes. It's just, let me show you what we already have in the system. It might look different from the last time you were logged in. I go through the Microsoft Outlook integration if they haven't been sending videos that way. Show them, I give the example of the proposal walkthrough with the Snap tool, because if I was still in a quota carrying position, I would be doing that in every deal. And then, then I just take them through their Demolytics.
Awesome.
But
And
yeah,
one thing oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think, the platform is super intuitive. So once you get the hang of it, it's, you're smooth sailing. It's just getting these sales executives that are kind of dragging their feet to start. It's just, the more I can get in front of them to show them how people are succeeding with it, I think the more inclined they might be to start adopting it.
Yeah. And one thing that I don't think, Kathryn, you're doing justice to, probably because you don't want to brag, and I admire that. But I had an opportunity to speak with two different sales people that work at Hyland. And it was kind of a random moment where we had a conversation, and they were, I think, from South America, and they were not part of the initial pilot group. Long story short, I sent Kathryn and Melissa an email moments after finishing up my conversation with these two Hyland software account executives and introduced them. And within, I think, 5 minutes, Kathryn had responded to the email and provided to these two account executives 5 small win and success stories from their peers with consensus. And I found that taught me something very valuable, that when you're trying to drive adoption on something that's new to a sales rep, you've got to collect win stories, large or small. It could be as large as a demo was viewed before a meeting and it helped make that live customer call far better, right? It felt like a third call as opposed to a first call. And it could be something as large as we closed a deal in a week because of, demo, what have you. But Kathryn has those documented and does a really nice job of sharing them to create excitement. So that to me was a big lesson learned of how I can help my other customers, emulate what Kathryn and Melissa are doing. See if there's any other questions or comments in chat that we haven't answered. I think we've addressed each question in the chat. We're coming up close to the end of our time.
I was just going to say, if anybody has follow-up questions, after DEMOFEST ends, Melissa and I are always very eager and happy to entertain those. I'm a total geek on this consensus platform now. It's really cool.
And one question I had as well was what, and you may not know the exact answer because I don't think many people work with a stopwatch on their desk counting how much time they spend on an activity. But in general, what would you say is the average amount of time spent to create a consensus demo? Right, knowing they're made up of multiple video snippets, what would you say is the average amount of time spent to record it? And kind of a second layer to the question of what lessons have you and your team learned to help shorten that time to build and create to get, faster time to value, if you will?
Yeah, I think, putting a timeline on it, I'll say that the easiest part is actually building the demo within consensus. So you've already got the videos recorded, outlined, everything ready to go. You've already got that. So the easiest part is building it within consensus. And, that probably 10 to 20 minutes at the most. If you have questions on what your branding is or things like that, that might trip you up and you want to be prepared with that stuff. So the building in consensus is actually the easy part. To me, the next hardest part is going to be the recording. And so if I'm recording a long video, we're focusing at 2 to 5 minutes, I'm probably saying 15 minutes per video just because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. One of the phrases that we took from Joel is we want YouTube, not Hollywood here. So We want it to be relatable. It doesn't have to be perfect, but sometimes people like me don't like their speaking voices or want to record things over and over again. So I'd say if you're doing a 2 to 5 minute video, you're probably going to spend on 15 minutes per introduction. The hardest part, and really why we did the session in the customer session on Tuesday, is that process of outlining it and starting to think about it and what that functionality needs to be to call out. And I think that's the part that takes the longest. And really, my recommendation, if you haven't downloaded that document from, or that template from the Documents tab, take a look at it and play with it. It is a true PowerPoint template, so if you want to edit it in any way, you'll need to do it in the master slides, but feel free to do that. But that's a great team building activity. It's a great activity to have your technical sales team, your account executive team, and even leadership involved in, so that you can have more discussion around it and devil's advocate and discussion around what features and functionality and what's important to show. So using that as a team building activity, I think is a great option.
Great point. A question came in from Cliff Babbitt, and hopefully I pronounced your name right. He said, I've heard someone from Consensus say less produced videos resonate better and higher produced videos. Do you all agree?
Yes. Yes and no. I struggle with that one a little bit because, as I mentioned, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I like things to be perfect. But you can't necessarily put that stress on everybody. You know, we're in a software company. They like their animation. They like the different things. I think being able to speak from the heart and being able to have that discussion and doing the voiceover and doing the actual demonstration and speaking from your knowledge and with your confidence really does, it resonates with customers and prospects, and they hear that. So I think, yes, the less produced videos, AKA the YouTube type videos, are definitely better than the Hollywood production videos from that standpoint. I think it resonates better with customers and prospects. And I think you have more of a chance to come back and over with your passion and also your knowledge, and it really builds yourself as that trusted advisor.
Yeah, really good point. I've always believed that, you know, I guess I look at my own activity when I'm going to buy something as a consumer, as a way that I try and guide both my customers, and if I'm ever recording any demo content, to guide my behavior there. But say if you were to go to an Amazon, I don't know, product that you're looking to buy, what's more believable, stock photos with perfect backgrounds or reviews that have anecdotes and uploaded pictures from someone who purchased it? And of course, you don't want to see a picture of someone's, I don't know, their bathroom in a review, something awkward, uncomfortable, or not. You want to see stuff that is real world, but coming from someone who's used the tool, it's a credible expert. And Cliff, you hit the nail on the head. The authenticity is what I think we value, and our buyers value most over the production value. But with the caveat of a baseline of quality is always a good place to start.
Yeah, and I think Tyler had a good point that he's always looked at the YouTube versus Hollywood as another way of saying education versus entertainment, and really want to be authentic and informative. And I think that's a great point, Tyler.
Yeah. Wonderful. I don't think I missed any questions. I know there have been a couple. I'm just trying to navigate, make sure we've got each of those. I guess any other thoughts or comments, Melissa or Kathryn, before we wrap up? Give everybody a few minutes before the next session.
No, we appreciate everyone's time and engagement today. And as Kathryn mentioned, please reach out to either of us. We're both on LinkedIn, and we appreciate everything. Thank you all.
Wonderful. Well, I've got just a couple of things that to wrap up. And if I can steal the screen share from you for just a moment, Melissa, to wrap up. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So just a quick reminder, there's some gamification, a bit of a competition to the DEMOFEST, or to DEMOFEST, not the DEMOFEST. I just want to remind you of that. So feedback from on surveys gets you a ton of points, and there's some really good prizes at the end. So be sure to give feedback. We do value that. This is a live event that we try to keep live each year rather than doing some recordings and pretending that it's live. And we do that because we want to make it more engaging for you all. So constantly refining it, making it better each year is important to us. So please do submit any feedback or ideas you have. And we do also offer DEMOFEST events in person. We've already done a few this year on the West Coast and in San Francisco. We've got one coming up in Dublin and in London and on the East Coast here at the end of the year. So please do join the Discord community. Pay close attention to announcements on our DEMOFEST or on DEMOFEST in-person events. They're phenomenal. Each one that we've had, we've basically sold out and had to grow and expand to a larger venue because we have so many people attend, and it is for pre-sales by pre-sales. So we'd also encourage you to stop by the expo hall and visit our premier partner, DEMOFEST. Remember, no transfer of money is or occurs to put on this event. So we'd strongly encourage and recommend if you can to support some of our sponsors and those that put this on. And just one quick thing as a wrap up, there are some upcoming sessions that are great. And if you want to stay on this track, the next session will tee up automatically. If not, you're welcome to go back to the agenda and navigate to different tracks and different sessions. But we appreciate your time, and Melissa and Kathryn. As always, it's great seeing and hearing from you. Thanks for sharing your expertise with everyone today. All right, that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you, guys.